All right, Child's Play. This is one I've been meaning to get to for a while. It's just I hadn't watched a few of them in a while. I needed to rewatch them, and I didn't really want to, but I've done that, and now we're on to it. I was actually at a college orientation um thing, and when I started writing these notes, because I was bored and they weren't really interesting me. Um, well, let's get into it. Oh, I completely forgot about the remake. I wrote a lot of notes, and I completely had forgotten about the remake. Um, so I didn't really factor it into my ranking a whole lot. Um, so number 9, we have Child's Play, the remake. This is where it would have gone anyway, but I don't really have a lot to say about it. It's been a long time since I've seen it. Like I said, I completely forgot it even existed. I remember that while there's some interesting ideas about AI and technology and stuff, I just it's not a movie that stands out or that is memorable in any sort of way. The main kid, from what I remember, is pretty decent, um, but Chucky himself isn't really Chucky. Doesn't act or sound, do anything like how Chucky would. Um, I don't really have a lot to say about it, but just, I don't like doing that. I don't like singling out a movie, be like, oh well, I don't really have a lot to say about it, and then just like skip over it. I don't like doing that, but I don't have a lot to say. So we're gonna move on. That's number 9. Before we get to the next one, I do want to say that this is one of my favorite franchises. Evil Dead will always be my favorite, and then probably followed by either Child's Play or Scream. It's very neck and neck between those two. I love most of these movies. The next two I'm not too big on, but after that, I like all of these movies a lot. And this ranking was really hard when we get up to the top 5, the top 4. I took a lot of time thinking about it. But this next placement was pretty easy for me. Number 8, Curse of Chucky. Now I know that this one is seen as more of a return to form movie that a lot of people like, and I get why you would like it. It's the setting I think is really nice. It's really cool to be locked down to this one house. They call it a these kind of movies, they call it a dark house or haunted house movie. I think that fits this very well. It's just that the look and feel of this movie has never stood out to me. I mean, it's a made-for-TV movie. Not that it aired on TV, but it went straight to DVD, I believe, which was a first for the franchise, probably because Seed didn't do very well. But it looks like a Lifetime movie. And trust me, when I was younger, that's all my mom watched, and she made me watch them with her. The way it's lit and shot looks exactly like a Lifetime movie, and that just like messes with my brain, and it stops me from liking the movie very much. Also, we see a lot less of Chucky, which makes sense since it is a return to form to the original movie. But I just don't think it works as well here because you obviously know Chucky is up to this. Where in the first movie, it's an actual like mystery. Like, is Andy actually doing this? Like, is it all made up in his head? And this one, you know it's Chucky. And the movie doesn't try to trick you into thinking it's otherwise, which it's obviously not gonna be. But I would just prefer to see him more, I guess. I also don't think he looks as good in this movie as he does in other movies. Probably a side effect of the movie's budget being lower and it being straight to DVD. When he is up and moving around, he looks good, but it's just not as good as the rest of the movies. The kills in here, there's one really good kill with the priest at the beginning, and then when he gets in the car crash, that kill looks really nice. The rest of them are kind of like they're very CGI looking, and I'm not a very big fan. Like the electricity kill, I don't like. I don't like the kill where he stabs her in the eye, either. I do like how Chucky kind of wins in the end, where he kills everyone but Nika, and Nika gets sent off to an asylum. Because no one believes her. But going to Nika, I think she's a great new addition. I love Nika, but the other characters, it's a problem with both of her movies, where I just think the characters around her are nowhere near as interesting and as well acted or as good as her. So that's a detriment to both her movies, but Nika herself, I think, is amazing. I don't like the added Charles Lee Ray backstory. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, and it kind of paints him in a light that I don't like. Yeah, obviously, Charles Lee Ray is a bad guy, but like the obsessive, like kidnapper, like motive that they give him in this movie, I don't think it really fits him very well. Also, apparently, like that backstory takes place right before the beginning of the first movie, which doesn't make sense because weren't they on a robbery job? It wasn't Eddie the getaway driver. I think that was his name. So I don't know. Yeah, I mean that's all I like to say about this one. This one's just never been one that I've been very drawn to. Not that it's boring, because I don't really like using the criticism of a movie being boring. I just think if unless the movie is truly just awful and nothing's really happening, I don't think a movie really should be boring you unless you have something else on your mind or your attention span is low or you're on your phone or something. Like I'm usually able to sit down, lock down, watch a movie, and then be engaged the whole time. This is just one that has never really done that with me. So I do get a little bored watching it at times. And I just, that's sad to say, but it's just how it is. And then moving on. Also, I think I'm trying to keep this one a little bit shorter before I move on to the next one. I've noticed that my videos have progressively gotten longer and longer, even when I'm talking about franchises that are shorter than others. Like my Final Destination video, like 20 minutes long, that's 6 movies. Alright. And then we move on by the time I get to Evil Dead, which is what? 5, 6, also 6 movies. And that video is like twice as long, it's like 40 minutes. So like I'm talking and talking more and more about the same amount of stuff or even less stuff than there was before. So I'm keeping this a little short. When we get to the later half of this list, I'll have more to say about those movies. I probably will talk more. But moving on. Number 7, Cult of Chucky. Now, this one is weird because it's like I like it more than Curse. I just don't think certain elements of it are as strong as Curse. But I have more fun with this movie. Just overall, the two newer, they're not really new. The two newer movies in this franchise, I've just never been drawn to. I would never choose to rewatch them over any of the other movies. But this one is a huge visual upgrade than Curse, in my opinion. The very like sterile, white, trippy look of the compound that they're stuck in this movie, I think is a nice change from the rest of the movies, and especially the last movie, which was very dark, and the lighting was very like appropriate to that. This movie's very bright, in your face with its visuals, and very trippy with some of the sequences, and I do appreciate that. It's different, and I like different. Nika, once again, as I said, stands out as a great character, but everyone around her kind of falters. The multiple Malcolm, I think his name is, he's in like the concept of that character is interesting, but what they do with it, where it leads, it just doesn't really go anywhere, and it's pointless by the end of the movie. It is cool to finally see multiple Chuckies. It's just that novelty kind of wears off now that we have the show, where that is a huge part of the show, is there being multiple Chuckies. So this no longer being the only thing we see that in kind of doesn't bring it up as much as it would have. But that is an idea that Don Mancini, who makes pretty much all these movies, besides the remake, that's an idea he's wanted to do since I think Child's Play 2 or Child's Play 3. So it's cool to see that finally realized in the way they act, and they have the Chuckies act differently depending on which one of them was birthed first, like the order they came into the movie. They act differently. It's very nice. Brad Dourif does great as these different variations of Chucky. There are some cool kills in here. The head crush kill, oh my god, that is fantastic. One of the best in the franchise. And then the kill, even though it's kind of a rehash of another kill from Bride, where the glass falls down and cuts the lady up. That's a very nice kill. It's cool to see Andy come back, but I do really wish he did more. Like, he comes into the movie, he comes into the asylum, right? He plants the Chucky there so he can get a gun later on, which is a smart idea. But then he just kind of spends the entire movie locked up in a padded cell, and he doesn't get out. Like, he's there for the entire third act, and he's left there by the end of the movie. So he doesn't really do anything. He doesn't interact with Nika at all. So I just wish he'd done more in the third act. Maybe actually got to save Nika, or not save her. I do like how she gets possessed at the end, but do something to help out a bit more. But it is really cool to see him, especially since it's the same actor that played him in the first two movies. Chucky himself looks much better than he did in Curse. Like, much, much better. Like, I would say kill a fly. I would say he's about on par with how he looks in the older movies. In this movie, big step up from Curse. Now, moving on. Now, I know my number 6 placement is what most people would probably have at their bottom. It's Seed of Chucky. Now, don't get me wrong, this is still a rather low placement, but just the simple fact that I'd rather rewatch this movie. Like, I would rewatch this twice before rewatching Curse, just because it's such a dumb, fun movie. Like, genuinely, turn this movie, if you're bored, turn this movie on, you won't be bored anymore. I can guarantee it. It's also, my opinion's a little colored by the fact that this is the first movie I watched in this franchise, and I think I've seen this movie probably 3 times before I watched any of the other movies, because for some reason, growing up, this movie was just always on, like on the Sci-Fi Channel or whatever. It was just always on, and I never caught any of the other movies until I grew up a bit and seeked them out. So I'm a little biased and nostalgic towards this movie, I will admit. But I've always, and I still love campy, silly movies. Like, some of my favorite movies are like that. You know, those old dumb movies, Frankenhooker, Basket Case, all that kind of stuff. I've always loved dumb movies. So this falls right into that. And it's a very self-aware movie, like where you have Jennifer Tilly in Bride of Chucky playing Tiffany Valentine, but in this movie you have Jennifer Tilly voicing Tiffany Valentine, while the real Jennifer Tilly is a character in the movie that Tiffany Valentine, voiced by Jennifer Tilly, is trying to possess so she can become Jennifer Tilly as Tiffany Valentine in Jennifer Tilly's body. It's such a fun, just dumb idea and like concept. I love it. I love everything with Tiffany Valentine and Jennifer Tilly. Amazing. Also, Tiffany herself is great in this movie, as she is in Bride as well. Um, I don't mind Glenda. You know, I don't. They're not a character I love or anything. Um, is I don't mind them. I think they're decent additions. Shakes it up a bit. Um, and they make the movie very inclusive. Like this is a very openly gay movie, and it's cool to see that. Um, it's nice to see that kind of thing. Um, as well. Um, now there are some plot lines in here that I'm not very big of. Any of the human stuff that isn't Jennifer Tilly, fault is super lame and doesn't need to be in the movie at all. I do find that it's decently funny at times. Yeah, I have a good time. There's lots of stuff I remember. Yeah, you have the dumb kung fu fight between Glenn and Chucky at the end, but like there's some fun to be had in that. Come on. Um, it's a very unique movie. It's easily the most unique thing in this franchise. Um, not many movies you're gonna be watching on a regular basis are gonna be like this one. And so it's a switch up, you know. It just makes it fresh, fun to watch. And you can tell that this movie is very obviously exactly what Don Mancini wanted, and it's what he's always kind of wanted. Like I feel like, from what I've heard, he prefers this kind of tone for Chucky, but he keeps it a little more horror sometimes for people that don't like it. That's why the show kind of leans more into this direction as it goes on. Um, and the last thing I'll say about this, the ending is horrible. I mean, like the ending is just straight up bad. Um, like put aside the kung fu doll fight, they're I guess Tiffany Valentine's in Jennifer Tilly's body, and then the two separate parts of Glenn and Glenda are in the children, and then the Chucky hand comes up and grabs one of them out of the box, and it's a dumb ending. I've never understood, and it didn't even make sense. I never understood it, and didn't even make sense until the show. I guess the show makes it kind of more worth it, since I like how they play into Glenn and Glenda being split into two, but it's a dumb ending. But before I make anyone else mad, let's move on. Number 5. Speaking of the show, we have Chucky, the show. Now, this was a hard one to place. First of all, it's an entire show, 3 seasons. It's a lot more content than any movie. So I was thinking how I can do this. Do I separate the seasons? Do I rank seasons individually? But then I feel like they would kind of still be in the same spot, just ranked in the order that I like them. So I decided I'd just plop the whole show here, because while I do wish I could maybe put it a little bit higher, it's just that the next movies on this list are amazing. And I think this show's brought down by some things. First off, the first season, fantastic. I honestly absolutely love the first season, and it's probably one of my favorite things in this entire franchise. I love the new characters. A great job at giving us new characters in this franchise that has been going on for decades at this point. Chucky looks amazing. I love how he's messing and toying with these kids, manipulating them, especially with how he manipulates Junior in the end and how that all ends. Great stuff. I love Devon Sawa playing 2 separate characters this season, and then he'll play even more characters moving on in the show. Great stuff. It's just, God, season 2 is fine, but it's nowhere near the level of season 1, and it kind of brings the ranking down for me. It's kind of like it feels like it's spinning its wheels a lot of the time. The whole plot line in the private school, private religious school, like it feels like we're just spinning our wheels. We're doing the same thing again and again. And why I like seeing Chucky interacting with the kids more, and the whole good Chucky thing is an interesting idea, but I feel like it's pretty obvious where it's gonna go. Um, it just, and it's also just it's the least memorable season. I think easily. I've seen season one in a longer, like, it's been a longer time since I've seen season one, but I can easily remember more things that happened in it. Where season two, I remember the stuff with the bus exploding and the Chuckies being scattered around. There being the bald Chucky, that's a reference to Apocalypse Now, and then there being the buff Chucky, and then the nuns, and Devon Sawa is the priest, and then the new character that dies at the end because of good Chucky. Like, I remember all the basic stuff and the general plot of the season, but like specific moments, not really. I just think that this season could have been more, and I think that it's in a weird middle ground tone-wise where it's still trying to kind of keep the tone of the first season, which is a little more horror-focused, but it's not quite to the point of season 3, which I think is way super goofy, more in line of Seed, and this is just a weird middle ground. I don't think it quite knows what it wants to be. It doesn't know what fans it wants to appeal to. So, this season kind of brings it down. Season 3, I think, brings it back up a little bit. I like season 3 more than I like season 2, easily, but I still don't think season 3 is anywhere near the point of season 1. I just like how unapologetically goofy season 3 is. It goes back to Seed, Seed of Chucky's tone, which I know for a lot of people is a bad thing, probably. But, like, come on, I feel like more than just Seed of Chucky can have that tone. Like, it feels fair to kind of spice that in a bit more, because that is part of the franchise. That is part of this. It makes sense to have more things be more like that. And season 3, I feel like, gets that exception because it's really the only thing since Seed to have that sort of tone. So you have goofy, wild things happening, the full-on introduction of ghost and possession and that kind of thing into this world. In an afterlife, a sort of an in-between world where they go to communicate with Charles Lee Ray and the good Chucky, and that, like, it gets weird, but like it's entertaining. And then you have, like, it kind of fills more into the world of the voodoo stuff. Like, there are voodoo doctors that specialize in, like, curing voodoo curses. Like, and that's interesting to see because, yeah, while it is silly, it makes sense. Voodoo has always been a thing in this franchise since the first movie, so it makes sense. There's a world, like, in this universe that's centered around it. And I think Devon Sawa as the president is easily one of my favorite characters in this entire show. I don't have else. I love how the show represents, like, the franchise as a whole. The first season is more in line with, not quite the first movie, but more in line with Child's Play 2 and Child's Play 3, I would say. And the third season is more in line with Seed of Chucky and kind of a little bit of Bride of Chucky. So you can, just by watching the show, you get a feel for how the franchise is. And it covers so much ground in terms of the story and moving it forward, to where you have many returning characters: Andy, Kyle, Jennifer Tilly, or Tiffany Valentine, Nika, so it just moves the story of Child's Play forward in so many interesting ways and cool ways with returning characters. Only caveat to that is that it ends on a really bad cliffhanger, like a really bad cliffhanger, and then the show got canceled. So, and there is going to be a movie, like a new Child's Play Chucky movie coming out, but we don't know if it's going to continue the show or not, and if it does, in what extent. So that kind of brings it down as well. It kind of makes the show age a little poorly, in my opinion, because now, why would I want to rewatch this show when I know it's going to end that way? I'm just going to be disappointed because there's going to be no continuation. So the new movie that comes out at some point, hopefully, could maybe change that and make that not be a downside. We'll see. Moving on. Make sure I don't have anything. Oh, before I move on, I also think the show is very funny. I think the show is actually probably the funniest thing in the franchise. Great moments all around. All right. Number 4. Now, these last 4 rankings, super hard. I had to think a long time, and it sucks to say this, but really thinking about it and really thinking about how I feel about these movies, number 4 is the original Child's Play. Now, don't get me wrong, this is an amazing movie. I think all 4 of my top 4 movies, I would rank 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, you know? It's just, and thinking about it, and which of these movies would I rather watch right now? And the original would be at the bottom of that, of the top 4. It's easily the most horror the franchise gets. It's the scariest. It does the best at making Chucky scary and a threat to the characters. I like how it's a mystery. I can't talk. It's a mystery if Andy's actually doing all of this or if it's actually the doll. Even though, yeah, it's the doll. Everyone knows that by this point. It's like going into Star Wars, not knowing Darth Vader is Luke's father. But I do like how it's at least there. It makes sense for a first movie. Chucky looks amazing for a movie this old. Like, genuinely, the animatronic work here is fantastic. And I've loved looking at behind-the-scenes stuff for it. I do think that the mom, both the actors playing the mom and Andy are doing great jobs here. I really wish the mom would have returned in something later on, but she doesn't. But Andy does a great job. One of the best child performances of all time. Come on. I think the final showdown between our characters and Chucky is great. And there are some iconic lines here. But like now we're on the level of what we get in some of the later movies. And then just how it establishes the lore is very well. It's very mysterious in how all this works, which is fine for a first movie. It is everything with the voodoo and the doll himself in the beginning. Great. Brad Dourif as Chucky in his first time playing the role does absolutely amazing. He immediately slips into the role like a glove. Like amazing how fast he gets his character down, and he's just amazing at the role. Instantly iconic. Yeah, I mean that's all I really have to say about this. It's an iconic, amazing movie. It's just I would rather rewatch the ones above it. Yeah, I mean I've watched this movie plenty of times, but I can guarantee you that I've watched the ones above it a lot more. That's all I really have to say about it. So, moving on. My number 3 spot, funnily enough, Child's Play 3. Now, I think this is another bit of a hot one here. See, I think a lot of people might have 3 a bit lower. Like, most people, I feel, have 3 below the original. For me, personally, they're neck and neck, you know? Maybe, like, in terms of just being a movie, the original is probably better. But it just how much fun I have with them, how much I'd rather rewatch them, how much I think about them and think about moments from them. The third one slightly takes the edge over the first one, in my opinion. A lot of great lines, like Chucky's gonna be a bro, you know, like stuff like that. The final showdown at the amusement park, while kind of out of place and doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, is great. I love that location. I love Chucky being grinded into the big fan. The setting, I think, is very nice. I think a lot of people rip on the setting for this movie. I think it's cool to have a horror movie set in a military school. That's not something I've seen very often. I can only really think of like Evil Speak. That is a very obscure movie, but like off the top of my head, it's the only thing I can think of. Um, but I love seeing Andy have to go through this training. I love Full Metal Jacket, so that kind of maybe colors my opinion a bit of this movie and the setting. I like some of the new characters in here. Um, the little kid, character. I can't remember his name right now. I think he's great. I love his adventures with Chucky and their interactions. Um, the friend that Andy gets, the glasses, I like him a lot. And also the third act of this movie, like obviously I already said the amusement park stuff is great, but like the whole paintball gun with real bullets thing, great, amazing idea, and it puts a lot of suspense into that scene because these characters don't know there's real bullets in their gun, and then how it plays out is great. And then the glasses kid jumping onto the grenade before it blows up, very nice, very tragic. Some nice kills here. The kill, the guy gets the heart attack. While it's obviously bloodless, I think that is a really funny kill, and it's always been one of the moments I think of when I think of this franchise. I just think that the fun that this movie has over the original, you see more of Chucky, more one-liners, bigger action set pieces, more extravagant showdown. I just think slightly edges it out because I'm more entertained by it. And really, when you're looking at a movie, especially when you have so many movies in a row like this, you think, well, what did I have the best time with? What do I remember most fondly? What entertained me the most? And this entertained me more than the original. But moving on, I don't have much else to say about that. Moving on, number 2. These last two, oh my, so close, like impossible to rank. But I think I finally decided my number 2 is Bride of Chucky. Now, I absolutely love this movie. And the next one, I love this movie. Like, just the overall feel and vibe of this movie is amazing. Like, genuinely one of my favorite like aesthetics I've seen in a movie. Like the very late 90s like alternative kind of feel of the movie is great. The music, the look, everything. The movie starts with Living Dead Girl by Rob Zombie. That's how you know you're having a good time right there, is immediately when that intro starts. I think Jennifer Tilly, great addition. The best addition to the franchise that it has ever seen is her addition in this movie. She's great both before and after she dies to become the doll. I think those two as a pair, as both of them being dolls, is amazing. I love seeing their shenanigans, how they interact and bicker between one another. Now, the thing that brings us down, and really the only reason it's not number 1, is our main sort of couple that we have throughout the movie. I don't even remember their names, man. Like, if they weren't in the movie or were better characters, this movie would be easily number 1, but they bring it down so much because they're so boring, and the whole plot about them thinking that the other is a murderer and them running from the law, it facilitates the story well, as in terms of we're kind of on a road trip running from the law, and Chucky and Tiffany kind of tag along in a way, but it's just not interesting. I don't think they're acted very well. I don't like riffing on. I don't like dissing on actors really, but I don't think they're acted very well. Maybe that's directing or the writing. They're not interesting characters. I don't think I performed very well. They bring it down a lot for me. many iconic moments, like the moment at the end where Chucky's in the grave and he's fully accepted that what he is and no longer has the goal of getting a new body. He's like, I'm Chucky the killer doll, like, and like he's no longer trying to get a human body, as that has been his goal for all the movies up to this point. He is good and satisfied being a doll, and that is what he wants to be from now on. And then, of course, the line, I'll be back, I always come back. Amazing. One of my favorite lines in the whole franchise. One of my favorite moments in the whole franchise right there. Just a very fun movie that I can always put on and have a good time with. Good, fun kills. You have the glass kill that I alluded to earlier that was replicated in Cult. You have the kill, the guy getting the nails in his head is a reference to Pinhead. And yeah, just great stuff. Some good funny bits where they see Britney Spears driving next to them, or the guy, there's the stoned guy that sees Chucky. Rude doll, man. That's a line that's always stuck in my head. Just overall, great movie, great look and vibe to a movie, great fun movie. I've honestly probably rewatched this one way more than I've rewatched my top movie, but I just feel like the next movie is such an overall well-rounded movie that it needs to be up there, where it doesn't have a downside like the couple in this movie. And moving on, my number one movie is Child's Play 2. I know, big shock. It's right there. Now, I feel like this is what can be seen as the definitive Child's Play movie. As in, when you think of this franchise, this is what you think of. Or maybe someone who's never seen one of these movies, but has only like caught glimpses of stuff, they might be thinking in this movie. There's so many scenes and sequences that are very memorable and amazing, like the teacher kill, one of my favorites, where Chucky kills a teacher with a yardstick, and the shot of him like slamming the yardstick on his hand is one of my favorites. Chucky looks amazing in this movie, better than he did in the original, and he already looked amazing in the original. This movie is also very colorful in a way, like almost in a giallo type way. Not quite to that extent, because trust me, those movies are insanely colorful, but like in a way that you don't really see in the rest of this franchise. Like, gives it kind of a unique look. Especially with the way the main house looks. It's very striking and like pops out at you. I think Kyle is a great character, one of the best characters in the franchise. And I really wish that she showed up in more things. She does eventually, thankfully, show up in the show, but I would have liked if she was in the third movie, or if she showed up in like Curse or Cult or something. I think this movie has the best blend of scary and funny Chucky, to where he's not fully zany as he is in kind of in Bride and definitely in Seed, but he's still kind of serious and scary like how he is in the original. I think this movie handles that blend and that tone the best out of any in this franchise. I think Andy is played even better in this movie. The actor playing him, it does amazing for being, a little kid. Many memorable lines. How's it hanging, Phil? Like all that. Amazing final act. The best in the series, easily. To where they're in the factory, like where they make the good guy dolls, and there's just walls and walls of good guy and Chucky dolls. And then there's this machinery, and Chucky's chasing them, and then he gets his arm cut off, and he replaces his arm with a knife. And then the really cool kill where the worker is there, he gets pushed in the machine, and his eyes get poked out, and it gets like two like what are they called, googly eyes. But they're one of my favorites in the franchise, an image that sticks with you really well. We obviously get to see more of Chucky than we did in the original movie, and that is great. I always love seeing more of Chucky. He's not like super front and center like how he will be in Bride and Seed, but he's still a presence. He's there a lot. He's a threat to the characters. He holds Kyle like hostage for a good part of the movie. Very nice. He's very smart in this movie as well. The way he uses people to get work, like put them in places they want. I do kind of, one little gripe is that he has the same goal as the original movie, which still makes sense since this is like pretty much a direct sequel. I just wish maybe he changed his goal up a little bit more, or he maybe succeeded in some way. Just very rewatchable movie. Very rewatchable movie. As I said, I've probably not seen it as much as I've seen Bride, just because the feel and look of that movie draws me to it a lot. But this movie is just such an all-around great movie to where it doesn't have any glaring issues or like super big nitpicks or problems that I can really point out. Unlike Bride, where it has that main couple that I think brings it down a bit. So it's just it's a really good movie. Like, it's not just like a good child's play movie or a good horror movie. It's just a really good, solid movie that is firing in all cylinders, that I think really holds up and will probably always be the best movie in this franchise. Unless the new movie that hopefully will come out sometime soon is better than it. Probably not. But that's about it. I've been meaning to do this one for a long time. I'm glad I finally did it. It took me a long time to write those notes. I did them, like I said, I partially did like maybe half of it at a college orientation. Then I went home and probably sat down for like another hour writing it down. And I talked for longer than I meant to already. But this is a franchise that's really important to me. I love how it's one continuous story and timeline, if you're not counting the remake. And that's just so refreshing to see when so many horror franchises just kind of break their continuity so often. Friday the 13th, every movie is basically its own storyline. Yeah, there's some through lines in like maybe those first 4 movies, but like it doesn't really connect in any meaningful way. Nightmare on Elm Street, like, it's the same way where there's like a through line. Like, there's stuff that you can pick up on from other movies, but like you can watch one without watching the other pretty easily. And that's how a lot of things are. And I love how it's just one consistent timeline, same characters, same story. It makes for such a fun viewing experience when going through it all, and such a rewarding one as well. And it's really impressive they kept it up for this many years. And that's why I'm sad the show got canceled. And I really hope that we could continue these stories in this one consistent timeline. But that's about it. I'm thinking of maybe doing a video where I rank franchises themselves, not individual movies, but franchises themselves. Or I take the big 3 movies, these 3 guys, Michael, Freddy, Jason, and I rank those movies, like all from their franchises in one video. That'll be a super long video, and I don't really want to rewatch a lot of those Halloween movies, but I want to eventually do that at some point because that's a fun idea. That's about it. I hope that you like these movies as much as I do. I wonder, did you have Seed at the bottom? Did you have 3 lower? Interesting questions, I know. And bye.